welcome to the next in the series of Startup Diaries from Burn Sheehan. This week is actually our first non-live podcast. We're actually jumping to just going and recorded. However, we've managed to get a great speaker and a lot of questions from our community as well to add to the ones that I'd already lined up to ask. So today we're joined by Erin Short from Avail to talk about the story of Avail and focusing on a few areas of what he's gone through to build his business. So without further ado, thanks for joining us, Erin. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if we have to do this disclaimer now that I'm an ex-army, so I do swear quite a lot. So I don't know if it's best to get that out earlier, sooner rather than later, especially if we're going to have sensitive ears. Yeah, it's just my own words. So if I do swear throughout this, it's not. I get passionate about some things. I'm not doing it. I just my own words in the army that I learn are always swear words, like, accidentally. So just to let you know,
it should be fine. Don't worry. We'll just put a little warning. Great. Well, let's see what. Let's jump in. Do you want to just tell us start by telling us your story and the story of Avail and what inspired you to start the business?
Yeah, no, certainly. So, I guess Avail came out of most people when they have a motivation to start a business, it's because they want to better things and they want to help people and stuff like that. I'd say Avail it directly helps people, but the reason it was started is because I was angry at people. It's the reason it started. I didn't start it because I thought, oh, there's a way we can help more people here. I started Avail because I was like, this is just the method that currently in this industry that we'll get to is just outdated, and it's just not fair for individuals in it. And I was one of the individuals that was feeling that, and I just said, look, I'm pretty pissed off that this is happening. So I started Avail to essentially defend against it and stop it happening. So I was in the army. I was in the army for quite a while. I was in the army for 5 years, and then come out 2015. Had a medical discharge, so I come out in the army and I went into lorry driving whilst I was doing my business management degree. So I was a busy boy. I was doing loads of bits and bobs, doing my business management degree, and then just driving lorries for agencies, driving lorries for temporary recruiters. Fine, did that for a few months and was realised, okay, there's a bit of disparity between what's going on between how much it costs them to send me to the employer and how much an employer is paying for me, and what the gaps between the middle is. And Avail started essentially because I got really pissed off. It was a Sunday night. I was driving a lorry, and it was a Sunday bank holiday, and I was getting charged. The guy who was employing me was paying £35 an hour for me, which is a ridiculous amount of money. I was getting £22 an hour of that. And the guy who had made one phone call to me and I picked up and said, yeah, I'll do the work, was making 13 quid an hour off nothing. And I was driving this terrible lorry. I won't mention the company, but I was driving a terrible lorry down south, full of loads of fags and cigarettes and beer. Drove it down south, and I was just got really angry about the fact that someone's taking £13 an hour off me and they're asleep. I thought, okay, that's fair enough, but the system's outdated. I got really, really mad about it. So focused the rest of my degree on how to change that, and realised, kind of just put two and two together, that temporary employment is based on phone calls and who knows who, and there's a large pay gap between what you pay to get a lorry driver and what a lorry driver receives. And it's hard to stay above the breadline as a lorry driver. It's not easy. It's a long hours. It's a tough old job, and you have to put a lot of work in for it. So I wanted to see, okay, is there any way I can cut out that cost and share it between an agency and a hauler? So I focused my degree on that, went away, spent a few years working on it, and then came up with the fact that whilst it was all coming together, a platform where it allows the structure of an employment area. So the structure of saying, okay, everyone that's signed up to this app could essentially work for you as an employer. And then the structure of the driver is picking who you want to work for. Because at the end of the day, like, you don't want to work for a shitty company if the pay is good, but you don't want to work for someone who's a knob. You're not going to. So, and then Avail was born. Started it. Probably took me. I was terrible. My investors spent a lot of time with me sharpening the spear of Avail of what I thought it was going to be to building it into an actual business. And I mean, I am grateful for them because the work they invested in me as a founder, incredible amounts. but an awful lot of work went into that. So in 2016, started kind of approached my venture, a VC, and approached an angel as well. Luckily, a really good mentor to me, very patient, of kind of getting up on the feet and stuff. And yeah, received a really good amount of money to get going. And then started destroying other agencies from that point forwards. I mean, if someone asked me to describe Avail, I always describe it as the U-boat of the war. Back in the day when people used to be like, oh, you used to have big ships around, the U-boats come around, and it's the same thing. Technology is really powerful against outdated industries. And if you can implement that, if you think of that, that's where you get real traction and real power, because you can just say, okay, I'm 1/8 of the cost of a usual agency. So
yeah. Great. I mean, we obviously know each other rather well, and I remember you once saying that you got complaints, I think, coming from those agencies about what you were doing to them. So
absolutely. I mean, like, it's never good to hear. It's never good to hear. But if you're benefiting the parties involved, my solution works for people, because I'm not embarrassed by that. I'm not embarrassed that like people like get upset with how my company works, because it cuts out profit margins for other companies. Like the end of the day,
it shows you being successful.
Yeah,
really,
exactly. Being a lorry driver is hard work. It's a lot of graft, and no one really likes them, and they get paid fucking nothing. So, if you increase that wage and lower hauliers fees, it's fantastic. But yeah, it does. Yes, I have had complaints from it, and I have. Yeah, and I still do. But that's part of it, because it means that I must be doing something right. I mean, I get a lot of things wrong, but must be getting something right if they're if that's happening.
No, that's fair. I'll just getting this question out of the way, kind of referencing the fact of what we've been through this year. How have the sort of COVID months been for you as an organisation, and what have you learned from that time as well?
COVID's been really interesting for haulage, because at the beginning stage, everyone was like, "Holy, what the hell's going on?" Like everyone was. Lorry drivers, especially, they usually interact with a few different people. When they're dropping loads off, they have to sign for paperwork and stuff. So there was a bit of like kind of shuffling around there, and it affected my organisation negatively. It did. People stopped buying stuff. Like you might be buying more. Like people on Amazon was obviously, everyone's got a bit of spare cash, so Amazon just went nuts. And we was involved in part of that, which is fantastic, only in small ways. But I mean, yeah, for haulage in itself, haulage is like the old war horse of this. Like if you like looked at industries, it's just like a horse that just refuses to stop working. Like it will just keep going and going and going, because you need it, but no one ever thinks about it. So haulage was kind of left on its own 2 feet. The FTA did a great job of kind of putting in like legislation and like protective, and they come together about like how they're going to like share loads and share work. And we even created a group where they can help people continue to find work and support contracts that have exploded. As you can imagine, when everyone ran out of toilet paper, well, it's like when everyone was going to the shops, it feels like months ago, but when we all thought, oh, the 2 things that we need to survive a pandemic is toilet paper and pasta.
Yeah.
And obviously people that were involved in that, one of my clients is doing a stupid amount of work, and it was about supporting clients that have got that and moving contracts around to try and to help people out. The thing I've learned about it is that there's been a few things that I've learned, is that being on an online based business is your safest place. I'm online based, and being online. So other recruitment agencies, other platforms, or people trying to do what Avail is doing struggled, because their whole process was built in of saying, oh, we bring people in and we'll interview them face to face. Like I don't get the same value out of doing that over FaceTime. So then people then have to turn to my way of doing things after trying to scorn me and say, well, Avail's not doing the things they should be doing because they do it over FaceTime or they phone call people. Then saying, oh, we've brought this brand new, amazing online portal on where we can bring drivers on. It's kind of like you just want to kick back in your chair, take a sip of like a drink, and go, oh, I did tell you. So the thing I've learned about it is, I guess, just steering my own course of what I thought was going to work for my company has, and COVID has only accentuated that by saying, look, that this online kind of culture is forthcoming, and it is going to come into this industry. So yeah, I think it was just about, for me, like taking the lessons on board about how can you slim down your process and streamline yourself as a business. So I don't think this will ever happen again in my lifetime, but you can prepare for like these crazy situations, because the online platform is the safest area.
Yeah.
Like online shopping remains, it went through the roof. Like all the Tesco, you had to book slots for 3 weeks in advance. And that all has a knock-on effect in logistics, because everything that happens online, unless it's like a SaaS product, 90% everything you buy online has a logistics effect behind it. And if you're involved in that, like I am, yeah, that was good. And we're kind of seeing the green shoots of after COVID are coming through now, and we're taking on clients daily. So
yeah, must admit it's one of those that's been probably overlooked for a long period of time in the industry, but fundamentally it's massively significant to the British economy.
Everyone please carry on overlooking. Don't everyone turn around, keep overlooking it. I'll do it. Like, fine. Please stay away from it. You're exactly right. Exactly right. Fifth biggest industry in the UK. It's huge, but the thing that you get from haulage that you don't get from other sectors is you get real people. Mm-hmm. Like you cut away. Like I have conversations. You don't have to dance around the point. You don't have to. People in haulage, men and women in haulage, it's black and white, and that's what I really like about the industry, because obviously I'm ex-army, so everything's been black and white my whole life of saying yes or no. But there's no like kind of wiggle room. It's either they're doing something or they're not. So you don't really get left on the hook very often, because the industry kind of dictates it. So yeah, everyone else, please stay away from. Anyone who sees this, stay away from haulage. I've got it, no problem.
That's moving on. I mean, you're the first in our series of founders who has actually outsourced large amounts of their technology rather than building that in-house team. I imagine to start with, that's led by overheads, etc. But what made you outsource that as opposed to building? Was it just overheads, or were there other angles?
I mean, I do think that the overheads, I think I could probably build a cheaper MVP. But the security, so I've got a fantastic tech house, really supportive, and I'm a young founder. It's my first time founder. I've taken a lot of money from other people. I've got responsibility to them people to make sure I do the best with it, and they helped guide me in the decision of taking on Perfect Image, really big tech house, blue chip clients. But they've been here 20 years. They're going to be here for another 20 years. So it takes the stress. If you're trying to build a product of getting it out into the marketplace, and these are some of the lessons I've learned of pre-sale is the most important. You need to get a product that you can trust in, and there's some downfalls, and there's some upsides and downfalls of taking on a big tech house. For me, it's an in-house, like as much as an outhouse, it's kind of still an in-house solution, because I still have creative control over my app. I can still ring them up and have meetings with them. I can still go down and have meetings with them and discuss about what we're doing. It just means that I can't have them in day-to-day meetings and nip over their shoulder and say, just change that color slightly. But that's all done that's all still outsourced, but still remains in their house. And you're just kind of like the uncle that comes by and it's like, actually, can you change that a little bit? And it's just done through that. And it's an end-to-end solution to say, once you've built trust in them, and I've got trust in mine, you say, I need this done. And then they go out and do it. But the thing that I've learned about techies, and the thing that I've taken to my next, if I ever do another investment, or someone else takes me on and other things, is the question about having an outsourced tech house is you get their full brain power. You don't have to rely on your whole brain power. And it's like the question of, and this is what I always say, whenever I explain what it's like working with techies, it's like, okay, when you get out of bed in the morning to go and brush your teeth, okay, so when I said, that's how I break down a solution. I say, okay, I need to get out of bed in the morning and go brush my teeth. And that's me thinking that's the solution done. That's what I need the app to do. And they'll go, okay, so did you get out the left or right hand side of your bed? Did you pull the cover over with both hands or one hand? Have you got socks on? Like when you went to, how many steps is it to the bathroom? And that's what kind of gets drawn out from a professional tech house. So when you sit and think and scratch your head and you go, that's not worked the way I wanted it to work, and they'll kind of row you back and say, well, you need to consider these 100 other things before to get you to that point. And it just means it's really methodical, and it's really thorough. So yeah, I mean, outsourcing it comes with a price tag. It definitely does. Jeez Louise, it comes with a price tag. But happy to pay it on the base that you get comfort in your product, that you can focus on what your product looks operationally. Because as a founder, first-time founder, it's easy to get sucked into every tiny little detail of your application or any tech that you build. But realistically, you need to be out and talking to people about it and discussing it about and getting user feedback, and then taking that back to your guys with the brains the size of Jupiter. Like, this is the things that I need, and then they fill it out. So yeah, that's why that's sourced.
But, I mean, obviously you alluded to it then, and I think it's you mentioned to me previously, one of the biggest challenges you've faced as a founder has been the fact that you built an MVP, but you felt you should have built an MSP, and there was challenges on sort of the way you attacked it in the first instance.
Yeah, definitely. So I built an MVP. I've got an incredible CTO, a guy called John Connolly, really clever guy. And I just sit and think, like, I feel like a Neanderthal when I talk to him sometimes. It's like I'm banging sticks on the floor, and just like more up. But incredible guy, really, really clever guy. And he kind of ripped down the app to where it needed to be, because I built up to this place where it was a mecca of like, I did everything, and we ripped it down. But in my opinion now, and we'll still probably lock heads about the opinion, I think we ripped it down too much. I think that's what people do. It's very difficult to balance an MVP versus an MSP. Right? MVPs are fantastic to say, okay, we can get this to the marketplace and people want it. But then people wanting it and people using it are two different things. So if I get into a marketplace and people want this MVP, they're like, brilliant, this MVP is fantastic. I would use this in my business, but I can't use it right now because it hasn't got the functionality I need, because you're swimming so hard in the background. So then you've built an MVP, but behind it, you've had to put staff. You've now put a cash burn behind it. You've put, say, 10 grand of cash burn. That MVP is now costing you, because you are now testing the MVP with swimming behind it. And then you've got to build, you've got to get into so for me to get outsourced into your diary, you've got to then look at the work and what it's good and what the outcomes were from the first MVP. So to get into when I say an MSP as a minimal sellable product, is if I gave it to someone and then walked away, how much swimming is there behind it? How much paddling under the water is there? Because that comes of any new tech startup. But how much paddling under the water is there? And does that justify them actions? Does that justify the spend? So an MSP for me, I think, when people take MVPs and take MSPs and you think about what kind of business you're building, you need to look at, is it really worth me fucking around for like this amount of time? Just spend another $5 grand and get it to an MSP and then give it to someone and then know that they're using it in the entirety of it. And I think that's what I did wrong. I think I ripped away just a little, by a hair, too much. And I spent time having to redevelop, and then that increases your cash burn. The whole time you're redeveloping, you're now burning more cash because you're supporting customers. So you haven't got as much focus on your product. You haven't got as much time. And you've kind of got a balanced customer experience and trying to, come on, keep using it. Keep going. Keep using the app. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And that can ruin relationships. So you just need to, like, I would always, to do it again, would always recommend, maybe take an MVP to test group, but then look at the question of, I couldn't use this in my business right now. Answer that before you put a cash burn behind it. Because if you start putting staff behind it, you start putting office cost, allocation of time resource, your own time management resource behind it, you're going to waste time. You're going to waste money. And you're just going to, end of the day, you can feel like you're banging it against the wall. So MSPs, don't mess around with MVP anymore.
Do you see any benefit in an MVP then? Do you see where it might work for someone?
Yeah, I mean, an MVPs, I would say yes, but it just depends how you plan on using it. If you can put an MVP out to a point where it's a routine, and if you put an MVP out where you've got a small routine behind it, which is you can diarize to say at the end of the day, I have to do this, 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 and this. And it's not reactive technology. It's just like an accountancy technology or something like that, where you just move funds. At the end of the day, I have to move that fund to there. Whatever collects throughout the day, it moves from there. But if you use reactive technology that has to react to a client in a timely matter, don't use an MVP because you're just going to shoot yourself in the face. Not in the foot, in the face, right? There's no point. Don't be an idiot. But an MVP, if you're using for a more traditional SaaS tool or something that just requires that you user wouldn't feel a lag of tech, crack on with an MVP. But crack on with an MVP to a point where you've tested it with a client small enough where you do a quick small test, find out what pisses them off, and then go, okay, I'll fix that. Then come back with an MSP until they're at the point where they're like, I've got no more gripes of it. Then put your cash burn behind and then go off running. Like, yeah, it's like trying to get on a boat that you're still building. You're still building it. You're missing half back of the boat, and you're just paddling down a river. You are like, and you've got like all your staff are bailing water out. You're paddling. That's what it's like, and that's what startup land's like, right? It's fuck around, but it's just about knowing where you draw the line, because you can pull an MVP down to pretty much just you talking to someone and doing what an app would do. You can bootstrap one, but just make sure it's at a point where your customers are comfortable enough that they will use it on their own.
And you obviously alluded to the fact it may have ruined, well, not necessarily ruined, but it puts strain on early relationships for you with clients. Did any of those get burnt out due to the MVP? Or was it?
Well, I'm probably the second best account manager in the entire world. So, no, I wouldn't say we lost one, but we lost confidence in one. We were building that back up. One of them lost confidence in us, and I'm not ashamed to say it. My MVP led into that because we just didn't have the functionality. But that's also about picking the right work for you, picking the right accounts. Some people have enjoyed the journey. I've got a guy called Mateo, the operations director of a haulage firm called Yoda3. He helps me all the time. He'll talk to me about what he would like, and he will sit and go through the app. And he's done it. And this is a guy that's really intelligent guy, knows loads about the industry. And I've got a few people that help me do that in big haulage firms that will sit because I've brought them on that journey of saying, okay, look, I'm not at the position of the app's not finished, but it's also knowing when to bow your head and being like, okay, the app's not finished. What would you like from it? And listen to your customers, be customer centric, and then say, okay, well, I thought you wanted this. Luckily, thanks to my CTO, I didn't build that, so that saved me some money. But what do you want? But yeah, no, I was able to maintain the relationships, I'd say, yeah, which is good.
Good. I guess with regards to sort of advice for anyone who's listening to this, who's thinking, who has that spark of an idea, what advice would you give to people in your shoes with regards to starting off with their products and approaching the build, outsourcing, insourcing, and versus the MVP, MSP? Is there like an overlying bit of advice for
I think it would be like really get into the operations of how you. So I thought the picture of how my product would work is probably the picture of how it's going to work in 5 years, or how it's going to work in 3 years, and how you change, because the behavior change of a tech product is the hardest push. If you take it from a human to human interaction where you just tell someone to go and do something and they do, to now saying I have to do this, but it will do the rest, is really difficult to get in. So my base kind of, if someone was listening and said, "Oh, I've got an idea, and I want to get it going," I'd say research your clients, and then research their behavior. Research what are you changing in someone's job, their day to day, for that app, for your app, your tech to work. What are you bringing to that person's table? Because you've got like your 4 kinds of buyer: your user buyer, your financial buyer, your economic buyer, your 3 kinds of stuff. And it's about what can you bring to the table for them. So I'd say, yeah, if you're gonna look at bringing a product, research, get into the guts of someone, and like really get into, would this make your life easier? And if it's going to make your life harder, does that balance out by doing something else for you? I guess.
One question to throw in then is, if you were starting again and you're looking at taking the actual sales angle, you're starting off with just the products, what sort of advice would you give when approaching getting your products out there, talking to clients? How did you go about that?
I mean, I think the first thing you need to do is kind of hyper focus about like what your client looks like and understand your client, where they're going to be, their buying habits, what kind of person they are, and then understanding how that kind of impacts where you're going to start selling, and just be intuitive to your client really, and who you want to buy the product. But for me personally, sorry about that. For me personally, I was just driving around. I mean, I was a first time founder. I was just driving around and thought, if I go speak to people, I can be quite interpersonal, so go speak to people and just like get their opinions on it. Especially if you're going into like you're building a product for someone, always go and ask them about it. So my first initial kind of sales were just kind of driving around of target clients and in a hyper focused area, and looking about like getting them on for free in the initial stage, obviously knowing that I'm going to fall over myself in terms of the app not working properly, and just providing them with like kind of a user story and a journey to say, look, this isn't going to be the perfect product right now, but in a year's time, you're going to be well ahead of your competitors because of the amount of money my app can save you. And that's what my app does. It saves people thousands and thousands of pounds all the time. I've out of 30 out of 30 clients ish, 100% of my clients have saved money. So I've never cost anyone their money. So it's a really easy sell for me of saying, give you your own money back. Like whatever you're doing now, I can just literally give you money back. So then that's what I was going around doing. And then as that formalized and I kind of got into a stage where my investors and my angel was like, you need to focus and you need to get a bigger sales pipeline in and stuff like that. And you kind of get out of development mode and go into sales mode. I was like, okay, so we formalized a traditional kind of attack because of the industry. So I understand the industry. Like, I make more sales off going in magazines,
right, okay.
And like doing traditional marketing. So, like I said, I've mentioned before, yeah, I've just just went out and got 700 Krispy Kreme donuts, which was, it's a weird thing to do in terms of you turn up to Krispy Kreme and ask for 700 donuts. It's an awful lot. It fills your whole car as well, which I didn't think I'd ever expect to do that. But I sent it out to 22 clients, and loads of them come back to us. And it's just a nice way to get in on taking a front foot and kind of taking off the sword and shield and saying, look, we are here to help you. So I think if you're a tech startup and you're looking to get into customers, hyper focus, like go and ask people their opinion. Ask people their opinion, sit with them, offer them. It needs to be, people aren't going to pay you attention or time until you're giving them value back. And giving value back, it can be done the simplest of ways of just being polite enough to say, look, I want to learn from you. Can give someone the value back to say that they're interested enough to hear your product out, and help you kind of develop that into a point where you can say, okay, well, I've learned from you. It's a good product now. Now you pay for it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's fair. Obviously, we've covered a few bits around like how you approached it and the learning curve. Is there anything overarching outside of what we discussed that you would, if you were doing it all again, that you'd change? Any other bits of sort of tidbits of advice?
Oh, what I would change? There's loads. There's loads that I would change. I would have probably spec'd out my app more before like I said, my MVP to my MSP, like kind of cash burn. That would have certainly have changed, and I would have pre-sold a lot more. I think the first thing that tech founders get involved with, because they're creatives, you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to build the best product in the entire world. Every single person in the world's going to love it, and it's going to be amazing. I won't even have to sell it. People just run to me and run in my arms and want to buy it, regardless of what you've got.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the best solution in the entire world. If no one knows about it, or if you've not got a formalized sales pitch, it means nothing. Like there's no point in it existing. If you spent £1 million on an app and £1 on marketing, you have wasted £1 million. Yeah. Like, you have to balance out. And it's that balancing act to say, okay, I'm starting to get client interest now, and that pre-sale and a formalized pipeline of saying, great, build an app, but how are you going to support the app? Because this is what founders do. I'm going to build an app, I'm going to build a fucking amazing app. Oh my God, it's amazing. Draw on walls.
Yeah.
Like, and then put it together and be like, this is the do all and end all of this sector's app. But they've got no way of supporting it. What's the support structure for it? Because when you first build an app out, it's crap. They're all crap because you've built something that you think is going to work and it's just not going to. So I think if I was to go back, it would be, all right, I've built the app, or I know what it's going to look like. This is how I'm going to support it. And that's the roadmap of, okay, as it gets through these stages and these gateways of development, this is what the support for that is going to be like.
One of the things I've been picking up on, and obviously you mentioned it a couple of times there, is about an angel. Could you tell us a bit about how you met, sort of selected or was found by the angel who's helping you be a mentor you through this journey?
Yeah, sure. So an angel, I approached a VC first. So because I was unversed about what I needed to do, and one of the VC's conditions, I was told by the VC, one member of the VC a few times, no, but just being, they told me no a few times. And then I got to speak to someone a little bit higher up who thought it was a good idea, which I'm very grateful for, because it is a good idea. The other person just didn't know what I was talking about. So I found a VC, really, really good guy. And he said he obviously spotted the weakness in me of this is my first time around the block. I'm wet behind the ears, and that's one of the weaknesses. So they've obviously got a network of angels, and they said they kind of matched us up, saying this guy is very intelligent, very rounded kind of chairman. He's done chairman in other businesses. He knows what he's doing. I think you should have a meeting. I had a few other investment opportunities as well, but I just thought, okay, well, the VCs kind of looked at us and said, you need some more support, and that's great. I think as a founder, you're always going to be challenged. There are always going to be people that are more intelligent than you. It's just an opportunity to learn. If you see investors, VCs, chairman, non-executive directors, the network around you, as enemies, and they're telling you and they don't know what they're talking about, you're not going to go very far. You'd see them as your allies and mentors, and regardless of your age, you are going to be. There's always someone more intelligent and older than you. And I found mine. We went to meet up and kind of went through the product, and very, very patient with us. Very patient in terms of some of the questions, the answers were wrong, or and kind of sharpen and spear.
Yeah.
So the VC was like, look, we'll invest, but only if you need a chairman. And I got a really good bond with my chairman. Even to today, we're very, very good, speak to him all the time. And I think that's really the key to any businesses is like having that good structure of having someone that's sat behind you that's not close enough to the business to get too intertwined with the day-to-day, that you trust in saying, I can't see the clear path, can you? And 99.9% of the time, you can. And it's just about taking that direction and being able to say, look, I might be the captain of this ship, but I still need advice. And yeah, I just felt really lucky with the VC I got.
No, good. And okay, what are the plans for the business over the next sort of 1 to 5 years? What's the vision and goal?
Worth £1 billion.
Good vision, good goal.
The business 1 to 3 years is aggressive kind of expansion. We're in a position now where we're about to explode nationally. I take on about 1.7 clients a day in terms of how quickly it takes me to bring someone over. And we just expand every day. So plan is to have a national reach and just start. I don't really have like an equity, like a kind of a cash flow amount or a client kind of list. It's just continue my current growth pattern, and every day bring on a new client, bring on 10 more drivers, and just keep like pounding it through as much as I can. But it's definitely to have a national reach across the UK and fulfilling huge contracts.
Great. No, good. One final question to wrap it up with then. What's the biggest achievement that you've had at Avail as a business? What's your biggest achievement?
Biggest achievement. So I've got two. I was personally, is it a biggest achievement? I don't know. Biggest achievement, kind of. I don't know. It's hard to think about. I guess the first one I would say for the business is I've employed a driver that has earned so much money from working from Avail than he usually would, that he's stopped working for me, paid to make his own transport company, bought his own lorries, and now employs drivers through me.
Oh, right, okay.
Coming from just an average day driver through to now a business owner who now employs, I think, like 8 guys through me. So he's gone all the way through. So as a business, it says my business ethic when I started Avail was I'm going to help people. Lorry drivers earn more money and reduce costs for haulers. And on the side, I'm going to make my money, which if I fill millions of contracts a year, I'll make millions of pounds. But if I don't, I'll make an amount which doesn't offend people or doesn't affect someone's wallet. You wouldn't see it coming out of your wallet. So, and that's happened. I have done that. Like, Avail has done plenty of things this time, and it grows and grows and grows. But that little story of saying, out of the thousands of drivers that I've got, I know one person already that after he worked for me for a few months, had enough money saved up from what he was currently making. So, for example, this is what he went from: £12 an hour for a normal agency, £19 an hour through me. So he just saved the money. Just saved the money, and like, his lifestyle did change, saved money, and a few months later, he's got his own lorry company now. The guy's absolutely ecstatic. So that was a big achievement, and I was put forward for the Tech Entrepreneur of the Year as well, which is personally a great achievement. Yeah, really, really happy about it. So it's good. Being a founder is a very thankless job. It will be. If someone's sat listening to this, thinking about becoming a founder, if you need someone to do, you've done a good job, don't. Just not fucking become a founder. And like, don't do it, because it is a job that takes from you. And I think that you get a lot of people with imposter syndrome, you get a lot of people really negative thoughts, and it does affect founders. And I think that you need to look after yourself as well, because starting a business in any respect takes from you. So I guess being here is probably my third biggest achievement, that I'm still here. It's been good. But yeah, I was recommended. I was put forward as the Tech Entrepreneur of the Year for the Insider Media. It's just a great personal achievement. So if I get it or not, it's by the by. But still be put into like the arena of saying that's where you are. It's kind of a nice breath of fresh air going through the constant of needing to push further and further.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I didn't realise that had been the case. Congrats on that nomination. That's a hell of an achievement.
Very much forward to accepting. I'm joking.
Start already writing down your acceptance speech. I take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. But we'll wrap it up there. Erin, really do appreciate your time. Thanks for that. And for everyone who's listening, if you've got any questions for myself, for Erin, I'm sure I'm not speaking for you here, Erin. You'd be welcome to people get in touch.
Yes, I'm happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, and likewise, if anyone wants to find out any topics or wants to contribute to this podcast, then please do definitely get in touch. Reach out to me at chrism@burnsheehan.co.uk, or you can find me under Chris McGowan or Christopher McGowan on LinkedIn. I probably should change that sometime soon. But yeah, you can find both myself and Erin on LinkedIn. And yeah, we'll look forward to your feedback and engagement going forward. Thanks a lot.
Brilliant.